Okay. One of the underlying themes of these nutrients is that it can help us to provide us with units of energy. Not all of them are equal in the amount of energy that they are able to provide us. Some of the macros can provide us with more units than others. And then even alcohol can provide us with energy, units of energy, although the body doesn't really utilize alcohol as an energy source. So all that excess energy that does get produced just gets converted to the F word. And no one likes the F word. Fact. But for the most part, the foods that we're going to be talking about are going to have various different sources for all of these various different biological fuels, carbs, fats, proteins. When we talk about this, we talk about it in terms of calories. Okay? Calorie is just a unit of measurement for energy here. And here is, here's the definition. Calorie. A calorie is the amount of heat needed to raise the temperature of 1 gram of water 1 degree centigrade. It's really small. So we talk about it in terms of kilocalorie or the big C, okay? This is the amount of heat required to raise the temperature of 1,000 grams, a liter of water, 1 degree centigrade. So this is going to be the measure of the unit of measure for energy that we are utilizing here. Kilocalorie or the big C calorie, okay? Not a small c calorie, all right? Very, very small unit of measurement for the small c calorie, okay? A typical diet is about 2,000 calories per day. If we didn't measure it in the big C or kilocalorie, I mean, you can kind of see where, you have to consume a hell of a lot more, 200,000. And that's just nonsensical. All right. So this is how we measure our units of energy here in terms of kilocalorie or the big C calorie. All right. I interchange using them. Okay. To me, they're both the same thing. But just make sure when you're writing it, especially if you have to write it out on a text, that you do write it in the correct way, okay? Big C calorie or kilocalorie, all right? Kilocalorie is what they put on food labels and whatnot. How can we determine how much energy a food can produce? Blow it up. And that's what the bomb calorimeter can do. You put food into a chamber here, burn it up, and see how much energy is given off. And that's how we determine all of the calories for all the various different foods that we have out there. Okay? And we'll talk about ways to measure calories that you utilize, that you need, that you produce. There are a couple different methods in which to determine your basal metabolic rate. Okay, how many calories you need to minimally sustain yourself. How many calories do you burn when you are doing various different exercises? There's a bunch of different ways to determine all that nonsense. We'll talk about that later in unit 4, I believe, is where we'll talk about that a little bit more. But when it comes to calculating how much energy is in a food, which you may have to do on an exam, okay? And I have, on the next slide, I think I have an equation. It's not difficult. But here are the units of energy that each of our macros, including alcohol, even though we just converted to the F word, what they all provide. Carbohydrates provide 4 units of energy, 4 kilocalories. Proteins provide 4 units of energy, 4 kilocalories. So you can see carbs and protein, they are providing the same. a number of calories, big C. Fat, you can see, oh my gosh, fat provides us with 9 units. That's a heck of a lot. Okay, you don't have to consume as much fat. Okay? You need fat in your diet. Okay, going on a low-fat diet, one of the worst things that you can do for yourself. Okay, you need fats, especially for women. We need fats to help us make certain different hormones. And if you neglect that amount of fat consumption, you can screw up hormone production, especially in women, a heck of a lot more than men. Alcohol also provides units of energy, as you can kind of see, roughly 7 kilocalories per gram. We convert that to fat pretty easily. So our body doesn't like to really utilize that one. It's not something that we can readily use. But all the other ones, carbs, fat, protein, there we go. So if I was to ask you on an exam to determine how many units of energy are provided by food, break it down. Fabulous slice of pumpkin pie. 54 grams of carbs, 15 grams of fat, 6 grams of protein in it. 54 times 4, 15 or 6 times 4 for protein. Fat, 15 times 9. Add them all up. And that fantastic little slice of pumpkin pie provides 375 calories. Or 375 kilocalories, however you want to say it. So that's how you can figure it out. So knowing what is in a food is going to be really important. Okay? If you make the food, even easier. If you didn't make the food, a little bit more difficult. Okay? But all restaurants need to have a list of what's in it. And then you can easily calculate and figure that out on your own. Okay. But there's probably a question on the exam, maybe 1, maybe 2, excuse me, regarding you to figure out the number of kilocalories or big C calories that are found within a food.